It's been a while since you last saw this journal on my desk, but today is the day where I want to continue creating in this journal. This is my Poppyfield Avenue journal. Hi, this is Luise Heinzl, and I'm really happy that you are here today together with me. I'm here with a new idea for you, which is, something like a mix and match thingy from your suggestions from my paper premiere about this journal. There I have asked you for some suggestions, what you want to see in this journal or what you want to see me creating in this journal. And I have picked some of those ideas and thrown them into a bowl, and then I have stirred everything around. And what I want to do is the thing, from all of your not all of your suggestions, but some of your suggestions, where I thought that would match really well. So we are going to create a page today in this journal, which is a mixture of a lot of layering. You have wished for different kinds of layering. On the one hand, you wanted to see something made from digital paper, which is layered, similar to what I did in my Come On Chameleon journal a while ago. I've chosen this page. I know, pretty unusual for that technique. You have already seen in the Come On Chameleon series, but I wanted to try something, and this is the page we are going to use for that. I also want to do some layering in a completely different way, and that's going to happen with both of these stencils and some texture paste. Also in a little different way than you would probably expect it from my little layering technique with stencils. That's a wet in wet layering technique with texture paste. And I faced some problems because I don't have opaque texture paste anymore here in my room, and I didn't realize that I don't have a backup. So that's perhaps something you might face in your craft room as well, that you want to do something and you don't have the materials or the mediums you want to use for that. So what can we do then? And I also want to have something somehow which can function like a pocket, because that was also a wish you had. So for all of the people who are new on my channel, there's a whole playlist about this journal linked down below in the description box of this video. There you can see everything about this journal from start to finish. So it's a really detailed series where I show you how this came to life in a really detailed way, and with some, at least for me, unusual techniques. Perhaps you can already tell it here by looking at these first pages that I did a lot of things you would normally not expect from my journals. So if you're interested in that, then please check out the link in the description box. And to all of you who are not new here and have been waiting for the series to continue, I want to use the chance to say a very big thank you for your patience. You probably know by watching my the last video, before the last video, why this series has stopped. And to be honest, I feel really bad for all of those who have created along with me and who have been waiting that this finally can be continued. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you so much for your patience and for your understanding for my situation. That really means a lot. And I am, of course, trying my best to try to continue inspiring you with some ideas what you could do with the Poppyfield Avenue paper collection. If you're new here, the links to the paper collection are also down below in the description box. What I want to do is I want to take your suggestions from the paper premiere, and as I said, I have put that all into a bowl, mixed around, and then what I have in my mind and what we're going to do today is the goal. I have absolutely no idea if everything will work out like I have it in my brain, but we will figure that out together and we will try to do this. So the first thing I want to show you is I have chosen this page here from the Poppyfield Avenue paper collection You could do this with any other paper as well. You don't need digital paper for this idea. Just choose something you like from your stash if you don't have this or if you don't want to use this. This is printed on 200 GSM matte photo paper. And I have printed this page in exactly the same size 3 times because I need the flowers for my layering later. And additionally, I have printed this to overhead transparency. If you don't have overhead transparency or if you don't have a printer, you can take something else which is a transparency. Yeah, perhaps you can find some packaging or so which is transparent and then stamp on that or so. I think there are many alternatives to have something like this. Or if you think I don't like transparencies, yeah, then you could even find a way, I think, to do this whole thing in a little different way, just without using a transparency at all. The first thing I want to do is I want to take this because I want to use this as the base of my page somehow. And I want to find a good spot, a good portion for this, which will then later on go on the page. And I think we are going to put a little bit of the other thing here to the other page where we can then also have a pocket. But what I want to do is, and perhaps you want to consider that for your own project as well, I want to focus on this flower here because this will be the flower which I want to layer later. And I don't want to have it, for example, like so. Whew. There are those days where the men from Amazon are pretty aggressively. So I'm back. I'm so sorry, that was my doorbell. So I want to focus on this flower and I want to make sure that the most of the flower is on the page here somehow.
Send me letters from Poppyfield Avenue, time-worn secrets, telling tales we knew were true. Wrapped in.
So let's just take a coffee dyed paper. You could of course also take a white paper, but I just thought a coffee dyed paper is not the baddest choice because this color is similar to the color we have on the page in the journal. And now I want to do my layering technique with 2 stencils and texture paste. Perhaps you have seen the videos where I showed you this in really extreme details. If not, I will link everything down below which could be interested in this context. The idea behind the technique is that we layer 2 layers of texture paste over each other, but wet in wet. And at the same time with some mediums on top. And in the past, and this is new for me now as well, in the past I have used the texture paste opaque by Ranger and Tim for this technique, but I realized that I don't have texture paste opaque here in my craft room anymore. I have missed to order a backup. So what I want to try is, I want to try to do this with the black opaque texture paste. And yes, the colors we will put on here will not show up like on the white texture paste. So the opaque texture paste by Ranger, you know, the jar which says only opaque is just a white texture paste. But I thought, what if we use even 2 texture pastes? First, the black opaque, and for the second layer, I want to use the translucent texture paste. I have never done that before. I have absolutely no idea what will happen now, but we will find this out. The next thing is, I have never done that on a transparency. But why haven't I tried this out before starting recording? Easy reason, because I want that you can see that experiments are very important for finding out new things. And there have been also a lot of comments regarding exactly that under the Poppyfield Avenue videos. And that makes me really, really happy when I see that you obviously also tried new things with this paper collection and with your journal. That makes me so happy. Especially those comments which said, that you trusted the process, like I suggested it in the videos. I know that this series was a lot of experimenting, and it still is a lot of experimenting. I did really a lot of things which I have never done before, and I did that like nearly live on camera while recording that, because I wanted to show you that junk journaling is exactly, or can be exactly that. Of course, that's different for each and everyone out there, but for me, there was this thing where you said, how do you come up with new ideas? And one of the answers is experimenting, doing something where you have absolutely no idea what you are doing and how this could come out. And that's, in the most cases, those scenarios where then you find out, for example, a new technique, or something you really like, or something which then later on adds to your own style. And I find that very important. Before the paste on the other pieces is going to dry, we take the other stencil. And the idea behind this wet in wet technique originally was, with white texture paste, to spritz some mediums on here now, then take this, go over that with another layer of texture paste, and then when we lift that up, we have a cool effect. I did different things. Please check out the other videos if you don't know those videos. But what I want to do is, let's take an oxide spray. This is Gather Twigs. I use oxide because, you know, this is black. If I would use the spray stain, we would not see it on the paste. And since I found out a while ago that these mediums can dry on an overhead transparency, we can just take this, spritz this on here. Don't be confused. It's getting white because the transparency is getting, you know, the liquid of the spray that will look different when it's dry. I'm expecting that the oxidation of this will later on be not permanent, but I've used the oxide spray to make it a little bit visible here on the black paste. Yeah, because if I would have used the Gather Twigs spray stain, then you would not see it at all on the black paste. If you want that, please, yeah, do that. But I want that this is not completely black. And what I also want, but that has nothing to do with using the oxide spray, that would work with spray stain as well. I'm really wondering if this will be successful now. I want to get the brown shown by the translucent texture paste. So what I'm going to do is I take my spatula, and while the black paste and the spray are still wet, I add my translucent paste, and as you can see, I also lift up some of the spray, but that's on purpose. This will get stained now. And as I said, I have never done it with these mediums before, but the idea behind this technique is to have two patterns over each other. You don't need to wait for them to dry, and you have this cool effect. The translucent paste is white, a little, you know, milky when it's wet, but it will dry translucent.
Cinnamon air, the ceremonies we used to share, every line a whisper, a memory to renew. Send them to me, your poppy-filled avenue. The cobblestones remember us, though now they hum alone. I keep your words inside my coat, the corners worn and frayed. My footsteps lost beneath the haze of the silver moon. But your love...
What the heck? How freaking crazy does this look? I mean, what? I mean, it's not completely dry yet, but I'm assuming that this will disappear. These white areas here will probably disappear. But what? I mean, oh my goodness. I wish I could scan this for you, but that's obviously not possible because of the copyright of the stencils, but what? Crazy. And now we have different possibilities with our water here, because the oxidation of the oxide spray will not dry on the overhead transparency. That is something I already knew beforehand and which I now want to use as an advantage for my effect. And you should be aware of that if you want to use oxide spray or any other oxide medium, that then the oxidation will come off. Yeah, if you don't want to have this dust in your journal, you know, think about that, please. If you would use a spray stain or a distress ink or refiller of the ink, that would not happen because everything ink-wise would dry on the transparency. But the oxide spray, there only the ink part of the spray dries and the oxide effect comes off. That's good in this case, because that way we get this cool color. And we see the image again then, because the oxidation is opaque and then we would not see any of the image anymore. This is a new transparency, a brand which is new for me. And because of that, I think we need to do this a little carefully and different than I would do it normally on the other brand of transparency I normally use. And a very important thing that just comes to my mind, please, if you want to use a printable overhead transparency for this technique, take a piece and try on a little spot if the transparency is made for this technique. The transparency needs the following features. First, it needs to be a printable transparency. That doesn't work with any transparency because these mediums normally are not made to dry on plastic. And what is this? This is plastic. Yeah, you can't do this with a cheese packaging, which is transparent as well. That would not work, okay? Because these mediums are not made for drying on plastic. But with a printable transparency, that can work. And for the most brands, for inkjet printers, I tried, it worked. Because the most transparencies, and that's at least the information I got from the internet, the most transparencies for inkjet printers are made for dye-based printer inks and pigment-based printer inks. And the dye part, is obviously the thing which can dry on here and the oxidation comes off. That is a really not a professional explanation of this, but it's the only thing I can give you from my experiments and my experience. I'm not a chemist, yeah, but what I know is that I want to have the oxidation removed from the transparency. And I really like this effect around the stenciled pattern. really cool. Let's take such a brush with water, a lot of water. That way I can get it off really controlled. Also here, you know, where the stenciled pattern is starting. And now you can see the ink part of the oxide spray is permanent on the transparency, and the oxidation comes off.
Those words will never fade. Send me letters from Poppy Field Avenue. Time-worn secrets, telling tales we knew were true. Rats in coffee and Cinnabon air, the ceremonies we used to share. Every line a whisper, a memory to renew. Send them to me, your letters.
So, shall we then? Yeah, we take either a spray stain or something like ink or so. This is Crackling Campfire and Lumberjack Plaid. We put a little bit of that here. Take a paintbrush. And then I want to paint the flower, because we already know that everything ink will dry on the transparency. I don't pay attention to the center here because I will not see that in the end with my idea. But what I want is that I have some details here on the outline of the flower. That's why I do it like so. Why do I like this way better than this? Because I think the Lumberjack Plaid is the better color for the poppy. I don't like that we can't see the single petals anymore so well. I don't want that this in the end looks like a blob under my layered flower I want to add in a second. And since I don't know yet how that will look in the end, I want to pay attention to some details here now. So I will take my brush again and with Gather Twigs spray stain, just do it a little bit like this so that the outline of the poppy flower gets a little darker, nearly like you would if you would sketch around it with a pen or so. Okay. So then we will put this aside for a second. And now I want to take my other prints from this very same page and I will cut this flower out. So here we go. Here are the 3 flowers. Well, it's 6 flowers, isn't it? But 3 pieces. And before I go on, I think we need to take these and glue them to the page. Otherwise, we would not be able to really see what we are doing here, especially with the colors in the background, because this page, look, it's a little different than the other paper I had for putting this on here so that you could see something. This is scary, but we need to do that. Otherwise, I can't decide how to layer this. And that also means that we could, I'm just thinking, I don't have time to wait. Yeah, I mean, I want to know if this effect will stay here over the next couple of days and weeks, or if this will disappear with time. But when I glue this in here now, I want that here we have an opening, and that automatically means that we can always peek into this pocket we create with doing it like this, and we can always see if that is then still there in a couple of days or weeks or not. And that's why I will now just take this and glue it down as a pocket. And some of you have wished for something like a hidden pocket during the paper premiere, and I thought with a transparency like this, that could be done pretty easily, because at first glance we can't really see that this is a pocket. It needs to stay open here, or what we also could do is we could glue it like so and put a long tag in here. No, I will leave it open from here, otherwise the tag would need to be very long. But I thought a transparency is always a nice thing to make something which is hidden, even if a transparency is transparent, and you could think, hey, how shall that be possible? But with this like illusion that there is something like this image on the thing, you would not expect that there's a pocket, and with that it's somehow hidden, isn't it? And now I want to decide about the size of the first layer. And now you could think, hey, why has she painted this red when she now is covering this up? That has a reason, and the reason is I want that only a little bit of this red shows through my layering. So what I'm going to do is I cut some pieces out here. Not out, but off, I think is the better word. Okay, and then we are going to take a piece of double-sided tape for this first layer, and I will put that along this straight edge, because here nothing can peek out, and this is, in any case, no matter what I will do now, the thing where it needs to be glued down really well, so that it can't come up there in the slot and that it doesn't make any problems when we flip the page. But at the same time, at least in my brain, this gives me the possibility to lift this up and layer something underneath, so that I now can decide what I want to do. And since we have cut these out, why don't we do it like this, for example, and put them back in there, but a little offset, or way offset, so that this still shows through, but not very extremely. I don't want that this red is the most massive thing on the page. To make these layers visible, I think we need to add a little bit of inking to the edge there. I'm going to take some vintage photo ink, and then we put this behind here. It's clearly visible, but it's too light. What do you think? Here, the print is already pretty dark, and if I would see this in reality, in nature, I would expect that this is darker. This is also vintage photo ink. And what I also want to try is, I want to take some die cuts and decide if I want to do or make some of the layers from die cuts. This is a portion of the Perspective Butterfly die cut by Zizix and Tim Holtz. This is the original thing and this is just a leftover, but if you already know me, you know that butterfly wings are always part, or nearly always part of my flowers. Put a little bit of glue here. Put this behind here, but so that I do it that I still can put other things under here, yeah, so that it is not attached to this yet, because who knows what's going to happen here. Then I can take this, also just put a little bit of glue on here. Bring this in here, and now you can hopefully see that only a little bit of the red is shown there, and that's exactly how I wanted it. Oh, look how this antenna comes out here. That is really great. And that brings me to another idea. So then we have this thing which we have cut off, and obviously we could use this now on here if the shape would make sense. Or what we also could do is, and that's why I have printed these multiple times to make my life easier, we could cut this out from here, and that's what I want to do. And I prefer cutting it from another layer, because here I only have the leaf and not the center, but I want to layer the center as well. So we're going to cut this out. How to know where to cut? I have no idea where I'm cutting, but it's not necessary. What am I doing? Oh my goodness. Don't do it like this, okay? What am I doing? Yeah, well, it would be possible like this as well, but that's not what I wanted to do. Oh my goodness. I was so focused to on telling you just, you know, move the paper and then just cut and this will look great, that I didn't pay attention to what I was doing. Oh my goodness, this is not what I wanted to do. But that's not the baddest thing. We can use this for the last layer. Let's save this for in a second. And now let's think about this. I'm so sorry. So what I want to do is, I want this thing here, yeah? This leaf, this petal, is what we have cut off from this. So what I want is, concentration. I cut in here and in here. And then, like so, without knowing where I need to cut, because I can just cut where I want, just move the paper and it will always look great, because here's not such a clear line where you could know where to cut, so just ignore that and cut yourself something like this. Because this, I mean, originally it was like so. Could you glue this over here if you would think, oh, the red is too much? Yes, for sure. That would be a possibility. But what I want to try is, I want to first ink this, and then want to put it on here. Look, now this here is way more visible. Also, you know, when it's layered and this is in the air, it's also visible, yes, but I like it when this also with the inking matches the other thing. And now, how much can I shift it so that it covers up a little bit of the red, but not this cool antenna here. Like this perhaps. So then we put glue only to the center here. Just a little bit here so that this is not completely in the air, but I don't want that this is glued down completely.
Field Avenue. Postmarks wither, but time can blur what's true. Your words still bloom like poppies do. Your letters still hold that soft embrace. In every line, I find more of you. Send me letters from Poppy Field Avenue. Time-worn secrets, telling tales we knew were true. Wrapped in coffee and cinnamon air, the ceremonies we used to share. Every line a whisper, a memory to renew. Send them to me, your letters from Poppy Field Avenue.
I just made a little break to have some food, and the Amazon man ringed my bell again. And I just had an experience. I mean, oh my goodness, not with the Amazon man, but with my body. But that hopefully gave me enough distance to this project to now see this with a little different eyes. And I also brought these here to the table because I'm thinking that could be a nice addition. Since we have this thing here, we could perhaps include these. I bought these on Amazon. These are normally used for making flowers. Yeah, I mean, you can type in flower stamens and then you will find these in several different colors and sizes. And I really like these. If you know me, you know that already. And to be honest, I was so shocked a second ago. I ordered some clothes on Amazon, and you know, I lost about 33 kilos within the past few years, and I have problems because I nearly can't walk from here, from the studio into the bathroom, for example, without holding my clothes to my body with my hands, because everything I own is just too big. I mean, that's good and I'm happy about that. But yesterday I was at that point where I thought, okay, I can't leave the house anymore with this condition of my clothes. And that's why I ordered some new things. And now some of that arrived, and I just, oh my goodness. I was in front of the mirror and I was like, who is that in this mirror? It was just such a crazy experience. Hallelujah. I'm so happy. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy. And thanks to all of you who have noticed that I have obviously changed a little bit over the past years, and you also said congratulations and all of that. That makes me really, really happy. I mean, not that weight is an important thing, yeah, don't get me wrong, but for me, it was like a long time of struggling. I struggled with my weight for nearly my whole life, and now I finally could lose these kilos, and it's just, for me, it's just such a crazy thing. I feel like a completely new person somehow, and it was just crazy. I can't wait until the other things will arrive, because then I think I will notice this weight loss for myself even more when I then finally have clothes which will fit, and you know, when I then can perhaps also see that. I'm totally speechless. So I think this was a good idea. This also raises this up a little bit, which gives here a little natural shadow. But there, I think we need something as well, but behind this thing. But the shape, this is fast ein bisschen zu groß. This is nearly a little bit too big. What else do we have here? I think even this little piece would work. I really like that we can use here everything we have on the table. Even these weird shaped pieces now come in really handy. Let's make that brown as well with the vintage photo ink. And then I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but it's more harmonious. Normally I would think I want to have an odd number of brown things, but in this case I think this is a good balance. Okay. Well, and this thing here, it changes completely. It's not the same like it was before anymore. So I think it was not such a bad thing that we glued that down. I think the backside of the pocket will change the color completely when it's completely dry. And I really like to use up the things I already have here now, because you know I have cut these out from the papers, and I really like to puzzle around a little bit. You know, that could also happen on another page or so. If I would think this is harmonious already for my taste, then I would leave it like it is and look if I can perhaps include these pieces on another page, because that can also add to making a journal harmonious. Because it just came to my mind, and that's why I did it here like I just did it, that one of you lovely people, I can't remember your name, but you've suggested to use one of my moths on a page, because you wanted to see how my moth and paper flutter printable, and the moths you can make with that, look here. And then I remember that I got these here in a really, really cute Happy Mail a while ago. Look, these are so crazy. Look at these amazing details here. Absolutely cool. If you don't know this printable, normally did I use all of these bigger ones up already? What is that? That's a printable where you can make these layered moths. There are layers which are more abstract, like these. You can get them there in different sizes within the same printable. And there are also layers which are very concrete, you know, like a real moth is. Wait. Oh! Like, for example, this one here. Holy moly guacamole. They are like a mixture of real moths and paper elements. You can't see that so well on this example. This is like more real, but some of them have these paper elements in the top layer as well, and then you can assemble them. Let's take a little bit of the lumberjack plaid spray stain. I just remember a really funny video I saw the other day where someone had an accident with his hair and a little bit like this. That is a little bit funny. But, oh my goodness, look. It's not 100% the same color, but I think it's absolutely okay. On here. And I will not put glue under the other wing so that this can still function as a pocket. So then, what about some splatters? And let's then also add a quote. I think one of these bigger ones would fit really well because the flowers are also pretty big. These quotes you can also get with the Poppyfield Avenue paper collection. These are in the ephemera pack and also in the kit. There's junk journal pages, an ephemera pack, and a kit available for this collection. The kit is nothing else than the pages and the ephemera pack in one item. So if you want to have everything from the paper collection, you can just take the kit and you have everything. But obviously you can also choose only the pages or the ephemera pack separately or nothing. Yeah, but it's just an information where this came from. And the quotes on this sheet, which is also available in another color in the ephemera pack. These are the lyrics of the Poppyfield Avenue soundtrack, which I created exclusively for this paper collection with my dear friend Daniel Evans, and which you can get for free with your download. So it's included in all three things, the pages, the ephemera pack and the kit. Ja, genau. No! Don't wreck my nerves in the in the last few seconds, please. Yes, I could have let the acrylic paint dry before I glue this down. That's completely true. And that's probably what you should do if you don't want to freak out. Yeah, so that's it. This is my little page with some layering with the texture paste and also the paper. We have a spot for a hidden piece of something, you know, little paper or so, which we have two spots. Let me take this one. This is really extreme in color, but then you can see it better. This could be way bigger, obviously, but we can then put something in here. And what I find interesting about this transparency in that it is a pocket is that you can also take something in a totally different color and put that in here to change the whole look of this. I mean, look. Completely different. That is crazy. Yo, that's it for today. I'm really hoping that you could find some inspiration, and perhaps you want to tell me in the comments what you think about this. And if you tried this out in your own journal, then please let me know. And I'm really hoping we will see the next time. And until then, I wish you a very creative time. Bye.